eLearning.ca. We love Learning.ca actually is one of our sponsors and supporting organizations. Ms. Stewart is one of the Canada's most respected learning design professionals. He has a diploma in adult education from St. Francis Xavier University and with more than 30 years of experience in the training industry. He is an active member of the Canadian Associations of Professional Speakers and the Learning Guild. Today, she will be speaking on the future of learning and in particular, how the role of instructional designer is evolving to that of a learning experience designer. So now we welcomed Ms. Janet Stewart. You can start.
Thank you, Professor. Esteemed colleagues, the learning landscape has shifted, and as Trinidad and Tobago, along with other countries in the Caribbean, make the transition to the digital economy, so must the learning landscape of these countries. In previous decades, when an organization needed to train its employees or customers, it meant booking a conference room and coordinating travel, accommodation, and meals for many persons. Scheduling could be a difficult and time-consuming task, and invariably, some persons were not available to attend, leaving them with an important knowledge gap and no really good way to close it. Fast forward to the 21st century and the year 2020. Learning has never been more accessible to more persons than it is now. The reach of e-learning today is greater than ever, with the most rapid growth happening in emerging economies working to close the education gap. The combination of low ongoing costs, high convenience, and accessibility are transforming e-learning into the predominant global educating force of the 21st century. The modern learner expects to be able to access information when and where they need it. With widespread access to the internet and the use of smartphones, training and education is now available in anyone's hands, regardless of their geographic location or their socioeconomic status. And to be successful, the modern workplace needs their employees to engage in lifelong learning. The fact that training can be made available through an internet portal makes the pursuit of continuous education more convenient and accessible than going to a traditional school or physical location. When it comes to digital online learning, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Similar to the design of classroom training, we must always consider three important components when deciding on a direction to pursue. What is the learning objective? Who is the target audience? Their age, gender, prior knowledge, and attitude towards the subject? And how will the learners consume the training? Will it likely be on a desktop, laptop, tablet, or smartphone? Based on the answers to these questions, we make choices about how to best approach the training initiative. With respect to the desired learning objectives, we also need to consider which domain or combination of domains of learning are involved: cognitive, physical, or affective. The answer to this question further guides our choices. And finally, there's one more important set of questions that are interconnected and impact our training solution: the time available to complete the work, plus the expected shelf life of the training, the budget available, and the complexity. The more interactive e-learning, the more labor hours required to create and program it. Much like the design of in-person training, there are a number of steps in the design process. During the needs analysis, we gather information about the learner, their prior knowledge, years of experience, demographics, and so on, and seek to understand the performance gap as it relates to skills, knowledge, and attitudes. Then we set the cognitive, physical, and affective domain learning objectives. These will strongly inform the design and deployment decisions to be made. Content creation and curation is the gathering and sorting of all of the content with the help of the subject matter experts. The learning design phase is where the process diverges from the design of in-person training. At this point, it is up to the instructional designer to imagine how to bring the content to life in an asynchronous digital environment when the instructor and the learner are not there at the same time. While it is true that some of the online learning programs include a live delivery component, more and more we are seeing modules wherein the learner engages in the training program at a time that is convenient to them rather than according to a predetermined schedule. It is critical during this phase that the design be one that engages the learner and causes him or her to interact with the course. Interesting and meaningful ways to move through content are designed at this stage. The learning experience needs to be an interactive one that is rich in relevant imagery and exercises. The creation of appropriate stories and scenarios help to move learners through the content in meaningful ways, and methodologies like gamification tap into the psychology of learner curiosity and fun to further engage. It is important that learners see themselves in the training, that they complete, and although that is not a new part of the course design, it is an e-learning environment, means that character development is an important additional step. During the asset creation phase, the content starts to come to life. Any videos that have been identified as digital assets to be included in the courses, for example, are created at this time. Video styles may vary from animated to live action or interview style to screen capture for software-focused processes, depending on the content to be covered. Depending on the assets to be created, this is also the time during which infographics and other specialized images are built. It is also during this step that the instructional designer will draft quizzing questions and design the scoring mechanisms to be built into the course. Although programming doesn't sound all that exciting, it really is. Finally, the course content starts to come to full life. All of the planning and storyboarding, all of the infographics and videos finally start to fall into place. Authors and subject matter experts review the draft and provide feedback. It's finally time to implement. Once the feedback has been received, the updates made, and the final draft scored, we're ready for the learners. Articulate is considered the gold standard in today's e-learning market when it comes to building courses. For those that will be consumed on a desktop or laptop, Articulate Storyline is usually the way to go, while those that are more likely to be consumed on a tablet or smartphone should be built in Articulate Rise. Both are considered to be rapid development tools and have responsive design built into them. Responsive design is a critical component in today's learning environment. Solutions need to be able to play well on all devices, regardless of size or manufacturer. The following is a chart from an issue of Training magazine that provides insights into the labor effort associated with creating e-learning. You can see that there are typically 3 levels. The sweet spot is level 2. It's where you find a nice balance between cost and complexity. But you can also see that for every finished hour of e-learning, approximately 184 hours goes into creating it. Given the increasingly short attention thresholds of the modern learner, we're seeing a shift away from courses that are an hour or more in length, and a shift towards a model wherein several mini courses that are laser focused on 1 or 2 topics and are no longer than 10 to 15 minutes each are bundled together by related topics. We often see e-learning courses that are a PowerPoint file with a next button in the bottom right-hand corner. That would be considered level 1 simple. This kind of course presents a passive style of learning, and consequently, the learner retention rates are much lower. On the other hand, fully immersive learning activities using gaming and virtual reality gear are far more time consuming to create, but do have a higher learner impact according to the most recent research in this area. In my opinion, the sweet spot is level 2. But e-learning is a spectrum of choices, so courses are not the only solution. How about turning a truck into a mobile classroom, or embedding training right into a piece of equipment? Both are absolutely possible. Interactive micro-learning experiences designed for mobile devices often use third-party apps in the background. Affordable tools like Zappar that use augmented reality are changing the place of what a classroom looks like. Consider this micro-training created for Geotech Vision of Jamaica and embedded right onto one of their drones. This training can be accessed by a smartphone in the middle of a field and accessed just in time, exactly where the learner needs it. Or how about bringing books to life through the addition of multimedia digital assets? I'll tell you at the end of my presentation how you can access such a book to experiment with. Creating interactive courses and learning experiences require the creation of a multitude of digital assets coupled with solid instructional design and creativity. It is no longer enough to understand the experiential design model or Kolb's work around evaluation or the forgetting curve. The industry now requires the talents of learning experience designers who have a solid background in learning and teaching methodologies, as well as the visual creativity of a graphic artist and the digital skills of an IT person. Good design does result in higher learner retention rates and changes behaviors. E-learning is an effective approach for the deployment of prerequisite training activities, education for the masses, and post-training performance support for those in the workplace, as well as product and service support for customers. Digital learning enables us to move past the have and have-not societies that are created for those who have or do not have easy access to education and information because of their economic status or geography. As a learning professional, e-learning opens up a whole new and exciting treasure chest of teaching tools. The 21st century classroom looks a lot different. As a learning experience designer, it's time to let your imagination play so that you can impact the knowledge, skills, and behaviors of your students through the creative and innovative use of technology as part of your 21st century classroom. In the 21st century, learning happens anytime, anywhere, and everywhere. For those of you who are interested, the eLearning Guild is, in my opinion, the best source of e-learning information and research, and I would encourage you to visit their website as well as sign up for their digital mailing list. I thank you kindly for your time and attention and will be pleased to answer any questions that you may have now, and would encourage you to let me know by email or by chat if you would like to receive access to a digital copy of my e-learning book 101, and then you can do some playing with Zapper technologies.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Janet Stewart. It's a very, very useful and enlightening presentation about learning design and delivery. I have a question. With the advancement of the learning technologies and tools, would the idea of switching from instructional design to learning experience design is largely a kind of change of mindset of those who engage in learning design?
I think there are two pieces to that, Professor. One is a changing of mindset, but also you need to adopt a blended skills model where you're willing to go beyond the skills required or the credentials required of an instructional designer and dive into things like graphic design and become really proficient in the use of computers and programming and using softwares. On any given day when I'm working on developing something, I might have 12 different softwares open on my screen, and I'm using them all in little bits and pieces. So it's a bit like multitasking in that way. You have to just have a whole plethora of skills that come together in a blended skills model.
Yes, Steve, I totally agree with you. I also realize that not many faculty members like you as a learning designer. We know the subject matter, but we don't know how to design our program in a more interactive manner using the latest technology, using internet, etc. But I think in future we need a lot of more help and assistance from those experts like you to guide, to help our faculty member to achieve the common goal.
I would agree, Professor. That's the sweet spot that we play in as designers, instructional designers, and now learning experience designers. We work with subject matter experts, and as a result, we get to learn lots of really interesting information because part of our task is to consume the content, understand it, make sense of it, and then reimagine it in a digital world. And whether that's going to be delivered in a synchronous environment as we're using today, where the presenters and the learners are together at the same time, or whether it's in an asynchronous environment when we're designing self-directed training that the learner is going to opt into sort of whenever it makes sense for them. And that could be at 10 o'clock at night, for example, if someone is maybe a single parent and their day is full of working and then taking care of their children in the evening, maybe it's not until 10 o'clock at night that they actually have any time or energy to be able to invest in their own future by completing some self-directed training. And so that's where I say that really e-learning is a great leveler. It levels the playing field for all citizens around the globe, because it means that everyone can have access to quality education, not just those who maybe live in the urban centers or can make themselves available according to a particular schedule. So I think it's a really an important, we can think about building digital schools across countries, if you will.
Okay, thank you. Because time's running out, I would like to urge other colleagues, other participants, if you have questions, can send email that directly to you.